Line?
This is Rob Jones, and I'm going to tell you how he accomplished the impossible. Wait, you don't know Rob Jones? Let's rewind. Yep, there. Stop there. In 2010, Rob Jones, a combat engineer with the U.S. Marine Corps, was injured by an IED while in Afghanistan.
I found it with my foot.
Rob lost both his legs, becoming a bilateral above-the-knee amputee. But his recovery was remarkable. Rob's motto became survive, recover, live. He went on to win the bronze medal at the London Paralympics for double scull rowing. He became a motivational speaker. He's performed stand-up comedy, tutored by the likes of Zach Galifianakis and BJ Novak.
I'm also a really big fan of Apollo 13.
Thanks, Rob.
No problem, Gary.
But despite doing all that, Rob decided to tackle another challenge.
Rob Jones is cycling from Maine to Southern California.
Riding from Maine to California, all to raise $1 million for organizations that help veterans like himself. 30 miles so far, just under 5,400 left to go. But this ride isn't about the destination, but rather the journey.
It took me 9 months to learn how to ride a bike again. A lot of hard work and a lot of effort went into it. And I decided I was going to do something big.
Rob Jones is extremely hard to describe.
This is Steve, Rob's little brother.
He was like, hey, I'm gonna bike across America. I've got these maps that I bought online. We're gonna buy this truck and we're gonna make it so that we can sleep in the back and you can follow me along. We went shopping and bought a bunch of camping gear and a bunch of water, and our plan was just sleep outside.
Well, I was involved from the very beginning, so I had no idea it was ever going to happen. Our goal was initially to be able to have him ride a bike again. And when he finally did that and he held his bike up in the air over his head, I thought that was the end of it. But a year later, he's pedaling across the U.S.
I don't know. Rob does nutty stuff, but he makes it pretty sane.
Top 5 comments. You picked a heck of a time to go across the country. Where'd you start? Where'd you finish? How many miles do you bike a day? What are you going to do next? And are you cold? It's pretty rare for a double above knee amputee to ride a bicycle.
As far as I know, when Rob started riding an upright, there was only one other person in the world that had done it, and only a couple of other guys since then have done it.
People use their glute muscles when they ride a bike, but they also use quad muscles, calf muscles, and all that other stuff. For me, it's just glute muscles and hip flexors that I get to use, so that kind of limits me.
His feet have to be clipped into the pedals, so otherwise they fall off easily. So it was necessary to custom make feet that had recessed clips that snap into the pedals. The prosthetic technology is really geared around walking, so to find a knee that was good to ride a bike was fairly difficult.
The Bartlett tendon leg is this manufactured leg. It's for a lot of things, but I use it for cycling. I think it takes something like 1 million pedals to start seeing wear on the leg, on the joint. So, and I went through 3 or 4 of those, so I was doing millions of pedals. If I want to be riding my bike, I have to stay seated. If I want to get off the seat, I have to stop pedaling and just stand up and let it coast. I have to get on it a different way than most people. I have to be careful about where I stop because I can't get back on the bike going uphill.
Rob wants to be pretty much as normal as possible. And he doesn't want to be restricted by his injury. For me, one of the biggest concerns I had actually was really the limited amount of riding Rob had done going into the journey.
The main way to train for a bike ride is to ride your bike a bunch. So I could sit here after the rowing season's over and I could train for 2 months or 3 months for the bike ride, and I can just ride in circles every day. Or I could just go ahead and start it and use the first part of the ride to train for the rest of the ride.
pretty much wake up around 7. Rob would always be up like an hour before me, but he'd turn on the lights and that would wake me up. We'd eat breakfast, a lot of powdered milk and cereal, a lot of powdered eggs. We'd start biking. Well, America has a lot of hills and it's very rolling. Like we did it in the dead of winter from October to April. Going east to west is supposed to be harder because the wind blows against you. Plus he added like 2,400 miles because he went like this and like this down the coasts. And I guess those were all the factors against us. I mean, that and the fact that Rob doesn't have legs. That's kind of a factor against him.
I think he was willing to do it in whatever conditions, you know, were thrown at him. He says he hates the hot weather, so that worked out, I guess.
I had to ride on a lot of ice and snow, and that is very stressful because I'm on these little skinny tires. I can't tell if what I'm about to ride on is ice or if what I'm about to ride on is just water. So I was constantly in a state of feeling like I was gonna slip out. The part I was most scared about was going up over Monarch Pass. My highest point on the ride, it's where I crossed the Continental Divide in Colorado. It gets up to 11,000 feet, and the whole time riding up to it, I would be checking the traffic camera that they have at the peak, and every day it was just covered in snow.
Everybody was like, you can't do it. They were like, go around, you can't do it. And I remember Rob got really fed up with it. He was just like, next person that tells me I can't do it this time of year, I'm just gonna punch him in the face.
The day that we went over Monarch Pass, it was totally clear, and there were guardrails, so it wasn't really a big deal.
You can't convince him otherwise from anything, but like I'm so glad that that's the case, because like if he wasn't so gung-ho about like, you know, just sticking with what he was doing, if he had listened to anybody else, you know, it wouldn't have worked out quite like it did.
Team Rob is a group of people who have come behind Rob to support him, not only for his journey to get across the country on prosthetic legs, but also for his ambition to try to raise donations for the military charities that supported him. I would say I was a communications coordinator, because I was kind of the hub of organizing the law enforcement, the towns, the community, and the media. One of the things that happened early on was we realized that he needed rest. I mean, I know he thinks he's the $6 million man, and in these days would probably be the $60 million man, but he needed rest. So we would scope out the hotels on his route and just send them press releases, give them telephone calls, and ask if they would be willing to host him for a night.
I wasn't expecting so many hotels to give me free rooms. I wasn't expecting so many people to come out on the streets and wave as I went by. I wasn't expecting so many riders.
I used to read like a lot of Jack Kerouac and stuff, so I always kind of read about scenarios kind of like that, where, you know, you hitchhike across America or whatever, and the generosity of good people. So I wasn't really surprised, but I was just really glad that those kinds of people exist.
Yeah, my original plan was just to ride all the way to Imperial Beach, California, which is south of San Diego. It's right on the border between Baja and the United States. I was just going to treat it like any other day. I was just going to finish my ride for the day, load my bike into the truck, and call it a day. But as I started to get closer, people thought that maybe I should do something a little bit bigger, and we ended up deciding that I should end in Camp Pendleton.
So first we had to convince Rob that it was okay that he finished at Camp Pendleton, that 5,300 miles or 5,200 miles was more than sufficient to complete the journey.
So it kind of became this big celebration. They brought my family out and they were there cheering. It was really cool for me just because all the people that had helped me got to take part in the celebration.
To see him actually cross the finish and complete the journey, it was overwhelming from an emotional perspective.
Am I going to have to stand up?
Turn around. I just sent an email to the Smithsonian. I think we need those shorts in the Smithsonian Museum.
The experience just goes really far beyond just my brother and his achievement. You know, we brought so many people together, we raised some money. I just really want to express gratitude and thankfulness to everyone who helped us.
When he shows up, he's just such a humble person and so appreciative of everybody's support that he inspires everyone that he meets.
He says a lot about how important just determination and perseverance are, because he works hard, and that's what it takes. I can build the best leg for someone, and if they don't work hard to use it, they're not going to get better.
Well, one thing with big challenges is, after having accomplished it, you're going to be coming out a better person. But even if you don't make it, you're still going to learn a lot of lessons about yourself. You actually learn more from failure sometimes than you do from actually succeeding. I'm really relaxed about my own accomplishments. I couldn't tell you why, I just am. Maybe it's because I want to make sure I don't get too big of a head about it. Maybe it's because I think that really anybody is capable of this, and I just so happen to be the one that chose to do it. Anybody else that wants to do this kind of trip or challenge themselves, they can look to what I've done already, and it'll help them realize that they can do something. If I can do this, then they can do whatever they're trying to do.
So let's recap. This is Rob Jones. This is his brother Steve. This is a rear-wheel drive U-Haul box truck. This is a Polar Vortex. This is a Bartlett tendon knee. This is Brian Bartlett fixing a Bartlett tendon knee. This is what before and after impossible looks like. And these are some of the people who helped make it so. After you've survived, after you've recovered, after you have lived, the only thing left to do is climb.
We had good footage until the GoPro fell off the truck.